Last time we talked, we asked 3 questions, or I gave you 3 standards. With anything that you want to place your faith in, you want to make sure that it's constant and dependable, it's of value and worth, and it gives you an everlasting assurance. Today we will discuss why Christ and Christ alone fulfills these standards, by way of reintroducing and introducing some new standards. We're going to introduce and reintroduce why Christ is constant and dependable, why He's steadfast and gives us an assurance, and why He is faithful. Jesus Christ is constant and dependable. Matthew 28:20, and behold, I am with you always, to the ends of the age. Psalm 46:1, God is our refuge and strength, a very present help in trouble, a very constant help in trouble. And Hebrews 13:8 says that I will be with you, I am the same yesterday, today, and forever. Basically, we're talking about the immutability of God, which means the changelessness of God. And I'm going to give you 2 examples to support this. Unlike us, God cannot be persuaded or influenced by our feelings, our emotions, or our circumstances. Our feelings are like roller coasters. Our emotions, they cause us to make rash decisions. And our circumstances cause us to doubt and to ask questions. That's all of us. And to make us feel a little bit more like we're not alone in this boat, we're going to look at Luke 8:22. We all know the story. It's where Jesus calms the storm. But to give you a little bit of a backdrop, think about this. You have the 12 disciples on a boat. The Lord's below deck. He falls asleep halfway through the journey. And a sudden storm hits these 12 men in the boat, and they start freaking out. Okay? Their feelings, their emotions, all change in an instant because their circumstances changed in an instant. More backdrop of these 12 disciples. Look at the time and the age. Anywhere you wanted to go, you either walked or you took a boat. Okay, so these guys it wasn't their first time out on a boat. Also, you had fishermen. They were used to being on their water. It was their livelihood. So what happened that made these 12 grown men just freak out of nowhere to where their faith just went, I mean, it just went out the window. I mean, take it into account again. They before this happened, they're walking hand in hand with Jesus Christ, looking Him in the face. They had watched Him already heal the sick, raise the dead. They saw it firsthand. But yet this sudden storm comes across and they flip out. Next one. Well, let's look at, we already understand why they flipped out, but let's look at some of God's promises in this story, but also for our lives. A couple of God's promises: that He hears our cry, He acts on our behalf, and He supports us. Psalm 34 and some selected scriptures says, I sought the Lord, and He answered me, and He delivered me out of all my fears. The eyes of the Lord are toward the righteous, and His ears toward their cry. When the righteous cry for help, the Lord hears and delivers them out of their troubles. The Lord is near to the brokenhearted and saves the crushed in spirit. Many are the afflictions of the righteous, but the Lord delivers them out of them all. The Lord redeems the life of His servants. None of those who take refuge in Him will be condemned. He heard their cry. God acts on our behalf. Psalm 37, 4-5. Delight yourself in the Lord and do good. Dwell in the land and befriend faithfulness. Commit your way to the Lord, and He will act. Support. Psalm 37, 23-25. The steps of a man are established by the Lord, when he delights in his way. Though he fall, he should not be cast headlong, for the Lord upholds his hand. I have been young, and now I'm old, yet I have not seen righteousness forsaken, or the children begging for food. So we saw that their feelings and their emotions and their circumstances were all over the place, but God was not influenced by a single one of them. Through that storm, God heard their cry. He woke up, He acted on their behalf, He calmed the storm, and then He supported them in their lack of faith. He understood that where they were in their faith, it was due to our flesh, our humanness, our feelings, our circumstances, our emotions. And He understood that it's a process. But Christ is also steadfast, and He gives solid assurance. He's our rock, He's our stronghold, He's steadfast, and He's an eternal assurance. Luke 6, 46-49. It's the story where God says, if you build your house on the rock, when the storms come and the waters hit the walls of your house, it will not fall. But if you are like an unwise man and you build it on the sand, as soon as the winds come, it will immediately collapse. God's talking about your faith. Build your faith on the rock. Psalm 37, 39 through 40, God is our stronghold. He says, the salvation of the righteous is from the Lord. He is their stronghold in times of trouble. The Lord helps them. He delivers them from the wicked and saves them because they take refuge in Him. It wasn't the storm that woke Jesus up in the boat. It was His servants crying out to Him, Master, Master, save us. Are you not worried that we're going to die? Do you not care? It was the cry of His children that woke Him up. It was the cry of His children that opened His ears. And He acted and He supported them through His solidness and His assurance and His steadfastness. Next, God's steadfastness, Psalms 33, 18 through 19. Behold, the eye of the Lord is on those who fear Him, on those who hope in His steadfast love, that He may deliver their soul from death and keep them alive in famine. Next, you have God's assurance, Colossians 2, 2 through 3, that their hearts may be encouraged, being knit together in love, to reach all the riches of full assurance of understanding and the knowledge of God's mystery, which is Christ, in whom are hidden all the treasures of wisdom and knowledge. And our last point is that God is faithful. 1 Corinthians 10:13, no temptation has overtaken you that is not common to man. God is faithful, and He will not let you be tempted beyond your ability, but with temptation He will also provide the way of escape, that you may be able to endure it. 1 Thessalonians 5:24, He who calls you is faithful. He will surely do it. 2 Thessalonians 3:3, but the Lord is faithful. He will establish you and guard you against the evil one. 2 Timothy 2:13, if we are faithless, He remains faithful, for He cannot deny Himself. So I ask you again, why is Christ the only source of our true faith? Because He is constant and dependable when we are inconsistent and undependable. He is steadfast and solid when we are wavering and weak. He is faithful when we are unfaithful. And for a final thought, the reason our faith can only be founded in Jesus Christ is because Jesus doesn't meet the standard. He is the standard.